A very good morning. Just past 10 by the clock. We are back again with another edition of News on the Hour. This is your first comprehensive show over the weekend where we get you an update of all the events gone by in the night and also looking forward to the bright and morning weekend ahead. What's in store over the weekend for our viewers. I'm Anil Thomas and this is your one-stop show for all that matters when it comes to news, as we are the most trustworthy network and we bring you news and we are the last word when it comes to dependability on the stories that India plays. Well, let's get started this Saturday morning with the top stories at the top of this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi receives his Danish counterpart Mette Frederiksen. The Danish Prime Minister given guard of honor at the President House, says the visit will strengthen cooperation in the field of green energy and environment. Air India returns to Tata hangars. Tata wins the bid with 18,000 crore offer for Air India. This investment does not include non-core assets, land and buildings valued at 14,718 crore. Maharaja returns to Tata's after 68 years. Mutual recognition of COVID-19 vaccination certificates begins with Hungary and Serbia recognizing India's vaccination certificate. The recognition will facilitate mobility for education, business and tourism. International community strikes a groundbreaking tax deal. 136 countries agree to ensure that multinational companies pay a minimum 15% tax rate from 2023. And five-time champions Mumbai knocked out from the playoff race, beat Hyderabad by 42 runs but failed to make the cut. Bangalore beat Delhi by 7 wickets. First qualifier to be played tomorrow between Delhi and Chennai. Well, top stories there at the top of this hour. Now for the stories in detail, starting first up with the Denmark Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, who's on a 3-day visit to India, being accorded the ceremonial reception this morning at the forecourts of Rashtrapati Bhavan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi received and welcomed the Danish Prime Minister at Rashtrapati Bhavan. She was given a guard of honor on this occasion. Speaking to media person, Mette Frederiksen said Denmark considers India as a close partner and she sees the visit as a milestone for Denmark-India bilateral relations.
Close partner to Denmark, and therefore I see this visit as a milestone for our bilateral contacts and for our cooperation. Last year, Prime Minister Modi and I were able to design and agree on a green strategic partnership, and today gladly we can meet here in Delhi to be more concrete when it comes to renewables, when it comes to wind and when it comes to water. And what we see is a very ambitious Indian government who really wants to take a great responsibility when it comes to the green transition in India and in the world. And I am very glad that we are able to have a cooperation about the green transition.
Later, the Danish Prime Minister went to Rajghat and paid floral tributes to Father of the Nation, Mahatma Gandhi. The Denmark Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, will call on President Rajnath Singh and hold bilateral talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. She will also meet External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. India and Denmark will discuss regional and multilateral issues of mutual interest. Several agreements will also be signed after the talks. Denmark Prime Minister will also interact with think tanks, students and members of civil society. Well, India has been battling against COVID-19 pandemic by timely tracking, tracing and treating. The country has been successful in containing the spread of the virus. Let's now take a look at numbers on how case rates in the last 24 hours. 19,740 new cases in the last 24 hours. It accounts for less than 1% of the total cases. It remains the lowest since March 2020 and is currently at 0.7%. That's the lowest, as I mentioned, since March 2020. India's active caseload now stands at 2,36,643. That's the lowest in recovery rate, currently at 97.9%, highest in the highest since March 2020. And 23,070 patients recovered in the last 24 hours. That has increased the total recoveries in India to 3,32,48,291 patients. Weekly positivity rate below 3% for the last 106 days, currently at 1.62%. And the daily positivity rate is also less than 3% in India and for the last 40 days, and is currently at 1.56%. Testing capacity in India being ramped up time and again. The total number of tests being conducted for COVID-19 in India currently stands at 58 crore 13 lakhs. In a significant achievement, India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed a 93 crore 99 lakh mark. Cumulatively, 93 crore 99 lakh 15,323 beneficiaries have been vaccinated so far. More than 79 lakh 12,000 vaccine doses have been administered on Friday. Well, the Gujarat government has decided to extend the ongoing night curfew in 8 cities. These include Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Surat, Rajkot, Gandhinagar, Jamnagar, Junagadh and Bhavnagar by 1 month. The curfew will be in place between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. till 10th of November. The state had earlier last month relaxed night curfew by 1 hour in the cities and permitted organization of Garba during Navratri festival in housing societies and on the streets. This year, however, commercial organization of Garba events will not be allowed. While Hungary and Serbia have agreed for mutual recognition of India's COVID-19 vaccination certificate, sharing the information, Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Narendra Modi in a tweet said traditional friendship with Serbia translate into mutual recognition of COVID-19 vaccination certificates. MEA also said the mutual recognition of the vaccine certificates will cater to help people move across countries for education, business, tourism and other things in the post-pandemic world. The decision comes a day after the government of United Kingdom removed the requirement of mandatory quarantine for fully vaccinated Indians travelling to Britain from October 11th. Well, in a huge big-ticket reform, the Modi government has approved the bid for disinvestment of Air India. Tata Sons made a winning bid of 18,000 crore rupees for Air India. The floor price was 12,906 crores. The Maharaja has thus returned to the Tatas after 68 years since its nationalization. Here's more in this report.
After nearly 68 years, Air India will once again be under the control of the Tata Group. In a joint press conference of the Department of Investment and Public Asset Management and the Ministry of Civil Aviation on Friday, information on the completion of the disinvestment process of Air India and Tata Group being the highest bidder was announced. The Tata Group has once again taken ownership of Air India by bidding for Rs 18,000 crore.
Thales Private Limited, which is basically Tata Sons SPV, has emerged as the successful bidder for the sale of equity shareholding of GOI in Air India, in AIXL, which is a subsidiary of Air India as a part of this transaction, and 50% of Air India in AISATS, which is another joint venture of Air India, along with management control. Now, going forward from this, a letter of intent will be issued and SPA will be signed with successful bidder. Conditions precedent will be completed by long stop date. Financial statements on long stop date will be prepared and agreed with the successful bidder as per the share purchase agreement already agreed upon. And transaction is expected to close by the end of December 2021.
The process of disinvestment of Air India began in March 2020. On September 29th, two business groups tendered above the reserve price. One is Thales Private Limited and the other is a group led by Ajay Singh. Thales Private Limited placed a bid of rupees 18,000 crores, while the Ajay Singh-led group placed a bid of rupees 15,100 crores. A panel of ministers from the Home Ministry, Civil Aviation and Industry Ministries reviewed the bids and Thales Private Limited won the tender. Thales Private Limited is a subsidiary of Tata Sons Group. The government has made it clear that the interest of the employees will be protected.
The winning bidder will retain all employees, which means they will not retrench anybody for a period of 1 year. Thereafter, for the second year after the first year, they will retain all the employees, and if anybody is to be retrenched or removed, they will be offered a VRS. These are the two protections to the employees in terms of their employment. Thirdly, they will be provided the gratuity benefits as well as the provident fund benefits as per the applicable laws of the land. And the post-retirement medical benefits of the employees, those who have retired as well as those who will be retiring in future, will be protected and provided by the government.
According to the government, the process of disinvestment in Air India will be completed by December 21st. Since 2009, the government has invested more than 1.1 lakh crore rupees in Air India. By March 2021, Air India had a total debt of rupees 46,239 crores, which increased to 61,562 crores by August 2021. Out of this, a loan of rupees 44,679 crore will be handed over to the special purpose vehicle Air India Assets Holding Limited, and the Tata Group will have to repay the debt of 15,300 crores after taking over the ownership of Air India.
The total debt as on August 31, 2021 will be 61,562 crores. 61,562 crore. 61,562 crore as on August 31. 61,560 crore. Out of that, the debt which will be taken over by the successful bidder will be 15,300 crore. As you said, that 18,000 crore is the bid, of which 15% consideration will be cash and 85% will be debt. So 15,300 crore will be taken off. So debt position after debt taken over by the successful bidder will remain 46,262 crores.
Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia congratulated the Tata Group on winning the bid and said they now have a major responsibility.
Thales, टाटा सन्स की कंपनी ने जो ये बिड जीता है, बहुत बड़ी एक देश की जिम्मेदारी भी आज उन पर है। मैं उनको शुभकामनाएं भी देना चाहता हूं और मुझे विश्वास है कि आने वाले समय में एक पृथक और एक महत्वपूर्ण सर्विस के आधार पर देश की 130 करोड़ जनता की सेवा जरूर उत्पन्न करने में सक्षम होंगे।
The Tata Group established Tata Airlines in October 1932, which was later renamed Air India. The government nationalized the airline in 1953. After the decision, Tata Sons chief Ratan Tata welcomed the decision by saying, "Welcome back Air India." Ratan Tata said in a statement, "The Tata Group winning the bid for Air India is great news. While admittedly it will take considerable effort to rebuild Air India, it will hopefully provide a very strong market opportunity to the Tata Group's presence in the aviation industry." On an emotional note, Air India under the leadership of Mr. J.R.D. Tata had at one time gained the reputation of being one of the most prestigious airlines in the world. Tatas will have the opportunity of regaining the image and reputation it enjoyed in earlier years. Mr. J.R.D. Tata would have been overjoyed if he was in our midst today. Ratan Tata also thanked the central government for the policy of opening selected industries to the private sector. It is hoped that the Maharaja will regain its past glory after this move. With Ajay Mishra, Bureau Report, DT India.
Well, we are heading for a short breather here on the public broadcaster on News on the Hour. Lots more lined up on the other side. Keep watching and stay tuned with DD India.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back to News on the Hour. Now let's move forward. A global push to enact a minimum international tax on big corporations moved closer to reality on Friday as one of the last holdouts, Hungary, agreed to join a reform that now counts 136 countries. With Estonia, Hungary and Ireland having joined the agreement, it is now supported by all OECD and G20 countries. 4 countries, Kenya, Nigeria, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, have not yet joined the agreement. The OECD brokered deal, which sets a global tax of 15%, is aimed at stopping international corporations from slashing tax bills by registering in nations with low rates. The two-pillar solution will be delivered to the G20 finance ministers meeting in Washington, D.C. on October 13th, followed by the G20 leaders summit in Rome at the end of this month. In a tweet, OECD Secretary General Matthias Cormann said that 136 out of the 140 OECD G20 inclusive framework members joined the deal to reform our international tax system to make it fairer and work better in a digitalized, globalized world economy. This will make our international tax system fairer and work better. It's a major victory for effective and balanced multilateralism. It's a far-reaching agreement which ensures our international tax systems is fit for purpose in a digitized and globalized world economy. Hailing the agreement, French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire said that the agreement has opened the path to a true fiscal revolution, ensuring digital giants pay their fair share of taxes in the countries like France where they make profits. The landmark deal, agreed by 136 countries and jurisdictions representing more than 80 or 90% of the global GDP, will also reallocate more than $125 billion of profits from around 100 of the world's largest and most profitable multinational enterprises to countries worldwide, ensuring that these firms pay a fair share of tax wherever they operate and generate profits. In connection with the ongoing Swachhata Pakhwada, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting organized a cleanliness campaign led by Joint Secretary INB Ministry, Vikram Sahai. While participating in the cleanliness campaign, he said that for the success of the cleanliness campaign across the country, need of the hour is people's participation. Along with the cleanliness campaign, he also stressed on eliminating the use of plastic so that the balance of the environment is maintained.
अपने कार्यालय में INB मिनिस्ट्री में इस शास्त्री भवन में जो भी इस तरह का सामान है, तो कूड़ा है या कचरा है या एक तरह का अभियान की कोई भी प्लास्टिक का सामान हम लोग नहीं यूज़ करें, से नो टू प्लास्टिक्स, और कोई भी इसका वेस्ट है इसका हम लोगों ने इकट्ठा किया है, सफाई की है, और इस पखवाड़े के बाद, इस 2 सप्ताह के बाद हम लोग जो भी इस इकट्ठा होगा इसको हम लोग प्रॉपर्ली डिस्पोज करेंगे, जो तरीका होता है, और इससे एक तरह का पूरे देश में एक जागरूकता फैलेगी पूरे देश में कि हम लोग सफाई का क्या जो महत्व है हमारे देश में, जो महात्मा गांधी जी ने बताया था स्वच्छ भारत का, उस स्वच्छ भारत का अभियान ये 2 सप्ताह हम लोग मना रहे हैं।
Besides, the cleanliness drive was also organized in Doordarshan Bhavan premises. Doordarshan Director General Mayank Agarwal led the cleanliness drive along with the officials. Through this, he gave the message to all Doordarshan employees to keep the premises green and clean. Well, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is to give away awards and medals to Indian Coast Guard personnel during the Investiture Ceremony. Let's cut across live.
देशवासियों में इस बात का भरोसा जगाती है कि हमारे नेशनल मैरीटाइम इंटरेस्ट बहादुर प्रहरियों की सुरक्षित निगरानी में है। साथियों, समुद्र के साथ हमारा बहुत ही पुराना रिश्ता रहा है। समुद्र ने एक तरफ हमें धन धान्य, खनिजों और वनस्पतियों से समृद्ध किया है, तो दूसरी ओर इसने हमें दुनिया भर से जोड़ने का भी काम किया है। हमारी परंपरा, उत्सव, त्योहार, कला, साहित्य, संस्कृति, ट्रेड और इकोनॉमी बहुत हद तक समुद्र से जुड़े हुए हैं, पर इस समृद्धि के साथ साथ हमें समुद्र से जुड़ी सुरक्षा चुनौतियां भी हमारे सामने कम नहीं मिली हैं। इन चुनौतियों ने हमें सिखाया है कि मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी को इंश्योर किए बिना एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इंटरनल और एक्सटर्नल सिक्योरिटी फ्रेमवर्क बनाना किसी भी सूरत में संभव नहीं है। इंडिया के मैरीटाइम जोन्स को सेफ, सिक्योर और पॉल्यूशन फ्री रखना हमारी सुरक्षा जरूरतों, इन्वायरमेंटल हेल्थ और इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट को एक साथ इंश्योर करता है। मुझे यह कहते हुए बेहद खुशी हो रही है कि हमारा इंडियन कोस्ट गार्ड इन सभी चैलेंजेस को एक साथ सक्सेसफुली एड्रेस कर रहा है। साथियों, आज हमारा देश तेजी से विकास के पथ पर आगे बढ़ रहा है और इस राह में अनहिंडर्ड मैरीटाइम एक्टिविटी हमारी एक प्रमुख आवश्यकता है। एक राइजिंग मैरीटाइम पावर होने के चलते हमारी प्रॉस्पेरिटी बहुत हद तक समुद्र पर निर्भर है, इसलिए अपने साथ साथ क्षेत्र के सभी देशों की सुरक्षा और प्रगति हमारा एक यह प्रमुख उद्देश्य है। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के विजन सागर यानी सिक्योरिटी एंड ग्रोथ फॉर ऑल इन द रीजन में यह उद्देश्य भली भांति स्पष्ट होता है। भारत सरकार के विजन के अनुरूप कोस्ट गार्ड रीजनल कोऑपरेशन को बढ़ावा देने, इंडियन ओशन रीजन में मैरीटाइम पीस बनाए रखने और इंटरनेशनल मैरीटाइम एजेंसीज के साथ मिलकर कार्य करने के लिए सदैव अग्रसर रहा है। साथियों, मुझे यह कहते हुए खुशी होती है कि समुद्री सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित करने के लिए हमारे कोस्ट गार्ड द्वारा किए गए गैलेंट्री का प्रभाव न केवल हमारे क्षेत्र बल्कि नेबरहुड पर भी बराबर पड़ा है। आपका एक एक सक्सेसफुल मिशन आपकी एफिशिएंसी और इफेक्टिव रिस्पांस को भी दिखाता है। वेरी लार्ज क्रूज कैरियर, न्यू डायमंड या फिर कंटेनर वेसल एक्सप्रेस पर्ल की दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण घटना हो, हमारे कोस्ट गार्ड ने सागर आरक्षा 1 और 2 ऑपरेशन चलाकर फायर फाइटिंग और पॉल्यूशन रिस्पांस में अपना एक मेजर कंट्रीब्यूशन दिया है। आप लोगों ने यदि टाइमली कार्रवाई न की होती तो यह इंडियन ओशन रीजन में एक बड़ी तबाही का कारण बन सकता था। आप लोगों द्वारा किए गए इस साहसी अभियानों से देश को अंतर्राष्ट्रीय ख्याति भी मिली है और एक रेस्पॉन्सिबल और कैपेबल मैरीटाइम पावर के रूप में इंडिया की पोजीशन भी यह मजबूत हुई है। कंट्राबैंड यानी इलीगल वेपन और नारकोटिक्स ट्रैफिकिंग के खिलाफ चलाए गए आपके अभियान भी यह सराहनीय रहे हैं। ऐसे तत्व न केवल हमारी इकोनॉमी को नुकसान पहुंचाते हैं बल्कि उससे कहीं अधिक हमारे समाज और राष्ट्र पर भी बुरा प्रभाव यह डालते हैं। खासकर हमारी नई पीढ़ी इनसे प्रभावित हो सकती है, जिनके कंधों पर आने वाले समय में देश की बड़ी जिम्मेदारी रहती है। इस तरह इन प्रतिबंधित वस्तुओं के अवैध व्यापार पर व्यापक रूप से रोक लगाकर आप न केवल वर्तमान की चुनौतियों से निपटते हैं, बल्कि देश का भविष्य भी सुरक्षित और सुदृढ़ करने का भी आप कार्य करते हैं। अभी कुछ समय पहले ताउते और यास तूफानों में भी अपनी जान जोखिम में डालकर अनेक नाविकों और कोस्टल एरियाज के अनेक लोगों की जान बचाने का भी सराहनीय काम आप लोगों के द्वारा ही हुआ है। ऐसे मुश्किलात में सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की एक्टिवली सहायता करने के लिए मैं पुनः आप सबकी तहे दिल हार्दिक सराहना करता हूं। इसी प्रकार की एक नहीं अनेक घटनाएं हैं जहां आपने अपनी महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका अदा की है और सेंटिनल्स ऑफ द सी की प्रतिष्ठा को कायम रखा है। इन सभी उपलब्धियों का श्रेय हमारे कोस्ट गार्ड के सभी ऑफिसर्स और जवानों को सम्मिलित रूप से जाता है। इस अवसर पर मैं हजारों जवानों के परिजनों को भी अपनी ओर से नमन करता हूं, जो उनकी बैकबोन है। यह उन्हीं के टायरलेस एफर्ट्स हैं जो हमारे जवानों को मोटिवेट करते हैं और किसी भी चुनौती का सामना करने के लिए सदैव उन्हें तैयार।
Well, live visuals of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh addressing the Investiture Ceremony of Indian Coast Guards. Well, every day we get you a package on India's freedom struggle saga, a special story on that. In today's episode, we are remembering another freedom fighter and hero. In today's this particular segment, we remember legendary freedom fighter Dr. Saifuddin Klitschko today, as he sacrificed his life for the country on the 9th of October 1963. He was one freedom fighter who filled many with nationalism and drew young Indians to the nationalist cause. Dr. Saifuddin led the protest against the draconian Revolt Act of 1919. We will also learn about a great freedom fighter Satyavati Devi, who extended hospitality to the freedom fighters.
9th October is the death anniversary of a legendary freedom fighter, Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu, hailed as the hero of the Jallianwala Bagh protests against the draconian Rowlatt Act of 1919. Dr. Kichlu was also a founding leader of the Naujawan Bharat Sabha, which rallied thousands of students and young Indians to the nationalist cause. He was born on 15th January in 1888 in a Kashmiri family which had moved to Amritsar. A student of sharp intellect, Kichlu completed his bachelor's from Cambridge University in London and obtained his PhD from Germany.
His revolutionary aspirations dated back to his Cambridge days, when he actively participated in Majlis, a society formed by Indian students to discuss India's colonial woes. It was through these meetings that he met India's future Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. Kichlu returned to India in 1913 and started practicing law in Amritsar. Professor Amandeep Bal, head of the Department of History in Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar, says, after his return from abroad, one thing that stood out vividly was Dr. Kichlu's devotion and love for the nation.
डॉक्टर सैफुद्दीन किचलू जब आए तो उन्होंने आके देखा कि अगर हमें हिंदुस्तान को आगे लेके जाना है तो हमें मिलके काम करना चाहिए। यही वजह थी कि अगले दिनों में उन्होंने काफी सारी ऐसी एक्टिविटीज में पार्टिसिपेट किया कि यहाँ पे ये चीजें प्रमोट हो जाए।
Deeply influenced by Mahatma Gandhi and the national movement, Dr. Kichlu left his legal practice to join the cause. In March 1919, the Imperial Legislative Council passed the Rowlatt Act, which empowered the government to put people in jail without trial.
Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu was one of the leaders who protested against the legislation. Professor Amandeep Bal says Dr. Kichlu's oratory was very powerful.
उन दिनों में बड़ी बड़ी मीटिंग्स होती थी जिनमें लोग इनको सुनने के लिए जाते थे क्योंकि डॉक्टर सैफुद्दीन किचलू बहुत बढ़िया ओरेटर थे। वो हिंदुस्तान की बात भी करते थे, कम्युनल यूनिटी की भी बात करते थे, साथ में सत्याग्रह की बात करते थे, तो लोग उनके साथ जुड़ते थे।
On 9th April 1919, Dr. Kichlu and another freedom fighter, Dr. Satyapal, helmed an anti-government procession that progressed through the heart of Amritsar. The two leaders were arrested and interned in Dharamshala. On 13th April 1919, a meeting was called in the Jallianwala Bagh to protest the arrest. As the meeting was underway, British Brigadier General Reginald Dyer ordered his troops to open fire on the peaceful protesters.
The troops fired 1,650 rounds of bullets at the gathering, killing around 1,000 as per the Indian National Congress. The government released Dr. Kichlu in December 1919. He was a staunch advocate of communal harmony, strongly opposing the idea of partition along religious lines.
Dr. Kichlu suffered a cardiac arrest and passed away on 9th October 1963. On his death, Jawaharlal Nehru remarked that he lost a very dear friend who was a brave and steadfast captain in the struggle for India's freedom.
It was also on this day in 1942, freedom fighter from Punjab Satyavati Devi made a daring act of replacing the British flag with the Congress flag in Lahore jail. Popularly known as BG or Mataji, Satyavati had been arrested on August 26, 1942, along with her 3 young children. While in prison, she organized a protest over the deplorable conditions political prisoners were forced to live in. At 5 a.m. on October 9, 1942, she rallied fellow prisoners and replaced the British flag atop the women's jail with the Congress flag.
Satyavati Devi, the granddaughter of Swami Shraddhanand and the mother of former Vice President of India Krishan Kant, hosted freedom fighters such as Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru and Bhagat Singh. She often fed Bhagat Singh with her own hands. She extended hospitality to the freedom fighters even as her husband, Lala Achint Ram, a freedom fighter who was popularly known as the Gandhi of Punjab, spent considerable time in British jails in Lahore. On the night before he left Lahore, nationalist leader Chandrasekhar Azad hid in her house. She left for a heavenly abode on 26 October 2010. Satyavati College of the University of Delhi is named after the great freedom fighter.
While heading for another short breather here on the public broadcaster, lots more to look forward to, especially on DD India and News on the Hour. Stay tuned.
Namaste India.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India.
Salam India. Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Muy
India.
Nahnu hunud. India. Ma Hindi hasti. Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back to News on the Hour, taking a look at international stories, starting first up with Europe must take the security threats that might arise from the migration out of Afghanistan more seriously. EU Home Affairs Commissioner warned about the threat after a meeting with her EU counterparts in Luxembourg. The Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan in August brought fears in Europe about a replay of 2015, when nearly 1 million asylum seekers, mostly Syrians, Iraqis and Afghans, fled to Europe by crossing from Turkey to Greece. Thus, she urged member states to properly perform checks on people arriving from Afghanistan. According to the United Nations, 500,000 people have been displaced within Afghanistan in recent months.
Terrorist threat from Afghanistan, I must say that my assessment is that the alert level is not high enough. We really need to do more here, and for example, we must make sure that all people arriving from Afghanistan are properly screened and registered. This is really an important part of for security. And I must say that I'm pretty concerned about the huge risk of the Al-Qaeda being able to recover again in Afghanistan.
But the Chinese government has ordered the coal-producing regions to act immediately to expand their annual production capacity as China battles its worst power crunch and coal shortage in years amid all the efforts to tackle the climate crisis. Increased demand for winter heating slumped coal production. The record high coal prices and regulated power tariffs have caused massive electricity shortages. This has thus prompted power rationing across the country, crippling industrial output and sending normal life to disarray in some parts of China. As coal prices continue to rise, more power plants are finding it difficult to operate and even face the fears of shutting down. Coal constitutes around 70% of China's energy mix, widely used for heating, power generation and steel making. Earlier this year, China shut down hundreds of coal mines, citing safety reasons, and also reduced the production in the functioning ones amid a national push to reduce carbon emissions. It has also banned the imports of coal from its key supplier Australia as political tensions between the two countries escalated. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Friday called for a new security agreement with Mexico that covers a full range of issues. Blinken said this in Mexico City after his meeting with Mexico's president on a visit aimed to patching up frayed ties. Blinken's visit is part of the Biden administration's first U.S.-Mexico high-level security dialogue, where the delegation sought to sketch out how to tackle everything from drug flows to the United States to the smuggling of U.S.-made guns into Mexico. After the meeting, Antony Blinken said that U.S. wants the bilateral relationships to be more than security and border issues, though migration remains a key element in the balance of ties. A surge in the number of Haitian and other Latin American migrants arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border plunged the Biden administration into another crisis last month. The United Nations sounds alarm at Myanmar's military junta deploying heavy weapons and troops in areas of the country where the internet has been shut down. The UN Human Rights Office said it is concerned the military in Myanmar would be preparing an imminent attack aimed at its opponents. The body said it had documented intensifying attacks by the army in the past month in Chin State and other areas.
There have been 2 special operations commanders who have been reportedly directed to address the conflict in these areas, and the deployment of these high-level commanders, coupled with the internet shutdown and the deployment of heavy arms to this area, has really, led us to become very alarmed and concerned that there may be an imminent attack, a very serious attack against the civilian population. We urge the international community to speak with one voice, to prevent the commission of further serious human rights violations against the people of Myanmar.
President Joe Biden on Friday restored the boundaries of the 3 American nature reserves known as national monuments that were reduced in size by former President Donald Trump to allow commercial activity. The restoration will protect more than 3.2 million acres in southern Utah, but known as the Bear Ears and the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monuments, as well as nearly 8,000 square feet kilometer Northeast Canyon and the Seamounts Marine National Monument in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of New England. Environmental groups and Native American tribes cheered the news, calling it a victory for conservation over development. Within days after Facebook suffered a 6-hour outage, the social media giant said some of its users on Friday once again were facing troubles in accessing the app and services. Users were facing issues in loading their Instagram feeds, while a few were unable to send messages on Facebook Messenger. In a tweet, Facebook apologized to its users for the inconvenience it caused and said it was working to get things back to normal at the earliest. Web monitoring group Down Detector showed that there were over 36,000 incidents of people reporting issues with Instagram and more than 800 reported issues with Facebook's messaging platform. Colombia will be reducing emissions by 51% by 2030, President Ivan Duque said in the 3rd summit of the Leticia Pact. The pact is a regional deal that boosts coordination and satellite monitoring between the 7 Amazonian countries. Regional leaders participated in the summit virtually to strengthen their efforts to protect the world's largest rainforest, Amazon. The Inter-American Development Bank president announced a green fund to financially support green initiatives in the Amazon region. On sports, in IPL, Mumbai beat Hyderabad by 42 runs in a high-scoring match, but it was not enough as they won the battle but lost the war as they failed to qualify for the playoffs in Abu Dhabi last night. Opting to bat fast, Mumbai scored their highest ever total, 235 for 9 in the stipulated 20 overs, riding on Ishan Kishan's 84 of 32 and Surya Kumar Yadav's 82 of 40. Ishan smashed the fastest 50 in the ongoing IPL. For Hyderabad, Jason Holder picked up 4 wickets, while Rashid Khan and Abhishek Sharma scalped 2 wickets apiece. In reply, Hyderabad could score 193 for 8 with the help of Manish Pandey's unbeaten 69 of 41 and Jason Roy's 34 of 21. For Mumbai, Jasprit Bumrah, Nathan Coulter-Nile and James Neesham all took 2 wickets apiece. In another match, Bangalore defeated Delhi by 7 wickets in a last ball thriller in Dubai. Putting to bat first, Delhi posted a total of 164 for 5 with the help of Prithvi Shaw's 48 of 31 and Shikhar Dhawan's 43 of 35. For Bangalore, Mohammad Siraj took 2 wickets. In reply, Bangalore chased down the target for the loss of 3 wickets with the help of Shrikar Bharat and Glenn Maxwell's unbeaten knock of 78 and 51. On the last ball, Bangalore needed 5 runs and Bharat hit the last delivery for a 6. For Delhi, Not Jay took 2 wickets. With this, Delhi finished at the top spot of the points table and now the side will square off against Chennai in qualifier number 1. On the other hand, Bangalore at the 3rd spot and Virat Kohli's teams will face Kolkata in the eliminator on Monday. Well, now UEFA Nations League update. World champions France recovered from 2 goals down to beat Belgium 3-2 in a thrilling semi-final with a last-minute strike from Theo Hernandez securing a place in Sunday's showpiece match against Spain. In a crazy end to the game on Thursday night, Belgium thought they had won it minutes earlier, but Romelu Lukaku's late effort was ruled out by offside by the referee. Details in this football report.
World champions France recovered from 2 goals down to beat Belgium 3-2 in a thrilling Nations League semi-final on Thursday, with a last-minute strike from Theo Hernandez securing a place in Sunday's showpiece match against Spain. In a crazy end to the game, Belgium thought they had won the pulsating contest minutes earlier, but Romelu Lukaku's late effort was ruled out for offside by VAR.
Certainly, because as I said, one of the best, if not the best team in the world, in the Europe, in front of us. So you have to recognize the quality, the strength of this Belgian team. But despite everything, and all the more so in a situation, it's happened before. I've already seen it. It's complicated, but there is quality in the French team. But there is also this pride, this self-respect, this character, and when that doesn't go the opposite way, there you go. Obviously in this match, the scenario is smiling on us. It's part of some great moments. You have to appreciate it. I'm very proud and very, very happy for my players for this match.
After Spain's impressive and inspiring victory over European champions Italy on Wednesday, this was another night of top quality football in a competition that was in a danger for being forgotten amid the post-Covid calendar crush. France were on the top and searching for a winner, but 3 minutes from the end of normal time, Lukaku looked to have won it for Belgium, but the goal was ruled out by VAR for offside. There was still time for Paul Pogba to rattle the crossbar with a sublime crushing free kick from 30 yards out before Hernandez struck late on. It was more disappointment though for the Belgium's golden generations, whose trophyless history now begins to look cursed. Martinez, whose side have struggled to live up to their billing as contenders in recent tournaments, felt the weight of expectations had taken its toll on the world's top-ranked team.
Well, I think first of all you need to look at the first half that we did. The first half was full of a cool head, real outstanding understanding of what was needed to score 2 goals from open play like we did against France, creating maybe other chances we should have scored before that. And our performance was at the level that we expect. In the second half we became emotional. All of a sudden we started not doing what we have to do. We became a little bit maybe thinking about getting to the final as quick as we could rather than play the game and the actions that we had. We allowed France to come back in, and that's a real disappointment that we have. Then obviously we showed even great tenacity to get back and score another goal that it was disallowed, all the small margins, but at that point you feel that the cruelty of conceding a goal in the 91st minute and the big calls that they never went our way, it could have been all avoided if we would have started the second half in the way that we played the first half, and that's a real disappointment.
The idea of Nations League was to turn friendlies with nothing at the stake into games that mattered, delivering football worth watching for the fans in the stadium and at the home. And the goals have certainly been met this week. The final take place at the San Siro on Sunday, while the third place playoff between Belgium and European champion Italy is in Turin on the same day. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, moving to Winter Olympics, as season change, so do the tournaments. Stage now is set for the Winter Olympics. The Winter Olympics takes place in China in February next year and the Paralympics in March. China is holding a series of test events from Friday in preparation. The organizers of the Winter Olympics in Beijing say they face great pressure due to COVID-19. Beijing says all participants in the upcoming test events must be COVID vaccinated. Anyone attending the Winter Olympics and Paralympics who is not fully vaccinated will have to serve a 21-day quarantine on arrival in Beijing.
The organizers of the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics said all foreigners taking part in the upcoming Olympics test events must first be vaccinated against COVID-19. Deputy Director of Beijing's 2022's COVID-19 Prevention and Control Office, Wang Chen, said that the presence of so many international participants of over 2,000 people presenting a big challenge for organizers.
Before coming to China to take part in these test events, all foreign participants must first have been vaccinated and have an approved COVID-19 test. Competition participants within the bubble will only be able to go to their competition venues and their competition's official training sessions. All other movements are forbidden.
The test events, which include international and domestic competitions as well as training events, will begin on Tuesday and end on 31st of December. The events will involve over 2,000 participants and take place across 8 of the Olympic venues, which are spread out across Beijing, Yanqing and Xiangshikao.
During the international test event period, there will be large numbers of foreigners coming to China for the competitions and will be spread out across the 3 main competition areas. This will undoubtedly and clearly increase the risk of the import and spread of COVID-19. This is a massive test for us.
Organizers also said they may invite spectators to attend some competitions during the test event series. The Beijing Games will start on 4th of February next year, and the Chinese capital will become the first to have hosted both summer and winter editions after also staging the Beijing 2008 Summer Games. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, managers are the first to be criticized after a team's poor performance. A manager is the face of the club, and as such, he is the first person to deal with both positives and negatives. A manager has to deal with the repercussions of losses as well. At top clubs, the pressure is constantly high, and one poor performance can spell doom. As such, managers are walking a thin line and have to be careful with what they say and ensure that the team does well in the next game. On that note, here's a look at 4 high-profile managers who are under pressure and under the eye at all times.
Mikel Arteta, Arsenal. A casual observer of football might presume that Mikel Arteta is consistently under pressure. That's because his time at Arsenal continues to be a roller coaster of emotions. A reliable player for the club, Arteta was heavily linked with the club's managerial role after Arsene Wenger stepped down. However, the club chose to appoint Unai Emery, and Arteta joined Manchester City as an assistant to Pep Guardiola. Arteta joined an excellent spell at City, where he was widely praised for his contributions. Understandably, Arsenal fans became excited after his appointment in 2019. He led the club to FA Cup and FA Community Shield success in 2020. But ever since then, things have not gone according to plan. Arsenal were abysmal last season, finishing 8th in the league. Despite big spending this summer, the Gunners are currently struggling in the league. Arteta has polarized opinions among fans as well. Nuno Espirito Santo, Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur's managerial hunt this summer must have been an exciting watch for the neutrals, linked with Antonio Conte, Paulo Fonseca, Gennaro Gattuso and Hansi Flick. The club finally appointed Nuno Espirito Santo as their manager. Santo left Wolverhampton Wanderers in the summer. Under him, the Wolves had risen from a championship club to a Premier League regular. However, concerns were raised about his style of play, with Santo preferring a defensive brand of football at Wolves. After a good start to the season, Tottenham Hotspur have regressed. They are struggling in the league table and also registered one successive defeat in the league. Harry Kane is yet to score a goal in the league. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Manchester United. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was appointed as the permanent manager of Manchester United in 2019, but questions are still being raised about whether he is the right manager for the club. One cannot deny the progress at the club since Solskjaer's appointment. The Norwegian has sold a lot of aging stars and expensive non-performing arrivals, refreshing the side with world-class players. The likes of Edinson Cavani, Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafael Varane, Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes have all been signed under Solskjaer. Despite that, Manchester United continue to be an inconsistent team. The side regularly relies on individual brilliance to bail them out, and there is no clear tactical plan. Solskjaer's vision for Manchester United is evident, but is he the right man to implement that? Manchester United are third in the league and have produced some poor performances recently. Ronald Koeman, Barcelona. Barcelona are a mess. When one thinks that the club cannot fall any lower, Barcelona have managed to do just that. The Lionel Messi saga this summer was embarrassing enough, but now there are much bigger problems at the club. Ronald Koeman is a Barcelona great who left the Netherlands national team job to take over as manager of the club in 2020. The Dutchman is under extreme pressure now, though. Koeman has repeatedly made controversial comments in recent weeks. He was reportedly close to leaving the club this summer, but Barcelona could not find a suitable replacement. They have lost the Champions League group stage games to Bayern Munich and Benfica and are in the mid of the league table. The performances in particular have been shocking to witness. Andrea Pirlo and Xavi have been linked with Barcelona's managerial role. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of News on the Hour. Thanks for watching. You take good care of yourself. Have a safe and wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.